All right, let's see here. Let me just make sure our levels are good.
Testes. Testes. Sweaty balls. Sweaty balls. Sweaty balls. Sweaty dusty muffin. Sweaty. Sweaty balls.
You'll be happy to know that I hit record like 3 minutes ago.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Welcome to Oyster-ology, a podcast about oysters, aquaculture, and everything from spat to shuck. I'm your host, Kevin Cox. My guests today are Dana Hines and Beth Simonds, oyster farmers and 2 of the 3 owners of Stonington Farms Shellfish in Mystic, Connecticut. If that sounds familiar, it's because we did a prior episode on Stonington Farms Shellfish with Beth and her husband, Kris, the 3rd owner, to learn about their very personal and touching story of how they came together and started that farm. If you haven't heard that episode yet, it's episode 8 of the podcast, then you should go listen to it now and then come back here for this kind of part 2 so that it all makes sense. Because it would be incomplete to talk about Stonington Farms Shellfish without including Dana. She's as critical a component of the operation as Beth or Kris. She's also the lifetime best friend of Beth's, and together they form a wildly powerful, cohesive, and absolutely hilarious team who are unafraid to expose some of their more personal feelings about working together. In my raucous, no-holds-barred discussion with these 2 besties, over which you'll see I had very little control, we hear more than just about the good and bad of their oyster farming realities. We witness an inseparable friendship and bond between 2 people, which I think is rare these days. It's said that opposites attract, and that's what their remarkable relationship looked like. Beth's high-energy cynicism contrasted against Dana's dry, self-deprecating humor. But you'll quickly see that as much as they are opposites, they're also the same. And the power of that combination is absolutely high voltage. Through sharing every thought and finishing each other's sentences, they unavoidably reveal their incredibly honest and ironclad support for each other, along with their equal and uncompromising commitment to grow the very best oysters as they possibly can, despite hardships, mishaps, and constant learning. It's that emotional bond, combined with Beth's powerful connection to Kris, that makes Stonington Farms Shellfish such a special and unique majority woman-owned operation that seems at one moment wildly successful and at the next just scraping to hang on. I'll be honest, this was a challenging interview to do for the simple reason that none of us could stop laughing most of the time, and the discussion veered wildly all over the map. It took hours to edit, but it was a blast to go through and pull out such discussions like the Zen moments of oyster farming, the problem with oyster farm partnerships, the joy of getting sweaty and muddy, Jan Brady's boyfriend, helplessly watching your oyster crop freeze to death, the perils of peeing in your waders, the inner world of oyster farming, the true meaning of friendship and balancing that with business, and so much more, with my guests Dana Hines and Beth Simonds. Dana Hines and Beth Simonds, thank you so much for being on Oyster-ology with me today.
Thank you for having us.
Been super excited about this. Beth, we've spent a little time together, but Dana, there's so much about you that I don't know.
I'm like George Glass.
Who the hell is George Glass?
Jan's boyfriend.
Who's Jan?
Jan Brady.
Oh.
She...
Marsha.
It's so funny you mentioned that because when you and Kris were telling your stories and the kids and everything, I was thinking something along the lines of the Brady bunch of bivalves.
Yes, a less attractive. We don't have a band. We don't all ride around in a wooden paneled station wagon.
And I didn't see Alice. You must have given her the day off.
Alice is not here. She's playing meat counter with Sam the Butcher. So
you watched way too many episodes of this show.
Yeah, that was the only thing that would get us inside when we were little. The Muppets and the Brady Bunch. And then we were like back out.
Why didn't the Muppets have sea creature Muppets, like Muppet Shellfish?
I don't know. But we were obsessed with the Muppets.
I did a report on Rachel Carson when I was in 4th grade.
No kidding.
Who was Rachel Carson?
She wrote about all the chemicals and pollutants that were destroying the environment and how it was called Silent Spring, she wrote, because there were no birds chirping. We had to dress up like the person we were writing about.
Did you dress up like Rachel Carson?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I think I just wore like a skirt and a sailor top, like a 20s. It was a long time.
Okay, quick sidebar on Rachel Carson. She was an American marine biologist, environmentalist, and writer who's widely regarded as one of the most influential figures in the modern environmental movement and a true 20th century muckraker. She's best known for her book Silent Spring, which was published in 1962, that documented the harmful effects of pesticides, particularly DDT, on ecosystems, wildlife, and human health. That book is credited with sparking global concern about environmental issues, which led to the eventual ban of DDT in the U.S. and the establishment of the Environmental Protection Agency in 1970. Dying at just 57 years old in 1964, she was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Jimmy Carter in 1980. All right, so Dana, I want to know
Yes.
about you, and I already know that you played Rachel Carson when you were a kid. But tell me more.
Well, I'm from Mystic, right here. I've lived here my whole life. My mother's from Michigan. My dad is from West Hartford, and he would come to Mystic or Groton Long Point every summer with his parents and his sister and his brother. And then when he met my mother, he was in the Air Force. They got married, and they decided to move here and live here permanently. So I've been here my whole life. I just grew up in the water, swimming at the beach, on the boats. My dad was fished, and all his friends had boats. He went tuna fishing, and it was just fun being around that sort of lifestyle.
So with all the swimming and everything that you did you ever pull up an oyster out of the
Oh,
bottom
sure.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well, you feel around for clams with your toes when you're out swimming, and you look at it and throw it back in because who cares, right?
Did you ever eat them when you pulled them up with your toes?
No.
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 And same with oysters?
Yeah, I didn't eat an oyster until maybe 2 years ago,
Till Kris made her.
till Kris made me eat an oyster.
So how did you get involved in oysters and aquaculture?
I got involved in it because of Beth.
Right. When did you first meet Beth?
I met Beth when we worked together in the 90s. We worked for a display company that made watch displays.
Yeah.
And
So I did screen printing. And she
yeah,
did
and
design.
I
That's cool.
started out doing like screen printing and the manufacturing part of it, and then I worked my way up to being a designer for it.
Yeah.
My parents were friends with the guy who owned the company, and so I guess Beth thought that it would be fun to be friends with me so she could get away with stuff. It didn't really work like that, but I knew her mom before I knew her because
Really?
her mom worked there, and we just hit it off immediately. Just like, where have you been all my life?
Right.
So you hit it off right away.
Right away.
Yeah.
Like she was getting married.
So
I mean,
you were there for the
yeah,
the
I was
first
there when
marriage,
she
huh?
was engaged, but that was really young in our relationship, and she had already invited everybody, and she said, "You come to my wedding too," and I said, "Okay." So I went and I held her dress in the bathroom so she could pee. Right?
It's true love.
Yeah.
I was so drunk because I didn't want to be there.
Why were you
Because
there?
it was too late. And I was 20, so stupid.
And I didn't know any of this. So like this new friend that was having a good time hanging out with my new friend and
Holding her dress.
starting
when she
her
peed
life
and-
and being a part of it and not knowing that it was hell.
How quickly did you come to that
When did
realization?
you realize it was a nightmare?
I would say when you built your house, a little before that, when you were in the old house, I was there every night.
Yeah.
I would come over every night and we just hung out, kept each other company, and
I was
I
home with
I got
little
the
kids.
impression that he was crabby, and I thought, well, I'm good friends with this person, like she might be my best friend, but I don't get along with her husband, or I don't really know him that well, and I think that's kind of weird, but whatever. So I just focused on her, but then when they built a house next to her parents' house, I kind of started to see that it was not as fun. But where there was always an explanation for it.
Right.
Like, oh, his sugar is low, or is
Right.
that must be why he's...
Right.
Talk your way through it. Because you can only hear, well, just leave so many times. And you're like, you can't just leave. Like, if a restraining order is not going to keep me safe, what do you think just leaving is going to do? I'm going to go stay with my parents and make them targets? No, it's not how that works.
Yeah.
So she kept me from killing myself for 20 years.
Unknowingly, until I knew, which was really late in the game. I didn't know how bad it was.
I didn't work for a long time. I just stayed home with the kids because I didn't want him with them. And it worked fine because he didn't want me to have any control of money or any autonomy. And so I just became a mom. And so I would just like live for Dana to come over at 4:30. Just like watch the clock. Like, oh my God, what are we going to have for dinner? What are we going to watch on TV? Like that was my relief. And I would be so sad when she left. Because then it's like, oh, I'm in this shitty life again.
Right.
Yeah.
And you had 4 kids, right?
4. Yep.
So you had your hands full. So what a friend.
Yep. She's
And-
my lady.
And if I had known what was happening, it would have been maybe a different story that we're telling.
In what way?
I don't know. I was sad that she didn't feel like she could tell me how bad it was, because I felt like I could have helped more if I had known.
I think it's you just don't acknowledge because then you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So the minute you say it out loud, it's real.
Yeah.
How long ago did you actually get away from him?
In 2020, it was official.
Mm-hmm.
But it was before that. And you tried to get out once before that.
I did try
too.
to get out once before that, and you just can't.
Well, you're definitely a survivor, and it's amazing that you got out of that. And
Yeah, it took me a long time to tell that story, and then I said it once, and I thought, okay, I did it. But I do things like this, and I think, what if he ever hears this? You know, the documentary that we're doing, a big part of my story with Kris is what I left to come here. But I'm not going to stay quiet anymore. It's just scary to talk about it.
Yeah.
It used to be scary because I thought people would think less of me. Now it's scary because I don't know what his reaction will be.
well, you've got friends like Dana who are going to be watching your back.
Yep. I love my Dana.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have a bond that is just like
It's
here's
weird,
the
isn't it?
details. It's so,
We're
it's
so
visible.
different.
You have this energy between the two of you.
Yeah, it's lightning in a bottle.
And I'm out. I'm taking applications for new best friends.
I'll stay on for 2 weeks to train.
Okay. She's giving her
See,
2
now
weeks
that's good.
notice.
She's giving notice. Some people just walk away.
You got to know how to make a good quesadilla. if
You
you're
know,
gonna be
though,
my
there's
best
no
friend.
severance package here. So.
Oh, God, no. We don't live like that.
No.
Health insurance? What?
What?
What's that? Medicine? No, you stitch that shut on your own.
That is why I work at the hospital.
Yeah.
Have you ever been injured doing oyster-related work and had to go get treated at the hospital?
No, the injuries that I've gotten were just like minor scrapes, and I had one day where I kept falling down.
Oh, it was
which is
hilarious. It was
weird.
the best thing ever. She just like take a step and fall over.
I think it's the bibs and the boots. that
Yeah.
sometimes
Oh, okay.
make it.
And
hurt
you
to-
get like hot.
yeah.
There's no elegant way of putting on or taking off bibs.
No,
No, there really isn't.
it's,
Yeah.
it's
And
a
somehow I feel
huge
so
pain.
attractive in them. I can't really explain it.
There's
I
like
think I-
putting on armor.
I
Interesting.
feel when I put on the bibs, I feel the way normal women probably feel when they put on a dress. It's very strange. I've never admitted that out loud before.
I agree, though. I like wearing them.
Yeah. This is where
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, they're
This is what I do.
feels
And
natural
she
to have
pees
them.
in hers all the time. I don't do that.
Not all the time.
Just sometimes.
One time. One time.
Is now
Great
these the
story.
waterproof bibs or the?
Well, they're waterproof on the
No.
outside
Yeah, but-
and on the inside. You have to start by knowing I'm not a great driver. I drive the big trucks all the time. The smaller the vehicle, the harder time I have. And boats are really difficult. And the wind in this bay picks up, without you even realizing it. And so Dana and I brought the boat home to do something and could not dock the boat because the big pleasure boat was at the end. And you have to be really careful because she has a swim platform that Kris built out of mahogany, and that's his baby. So don't chip the swim platform. So watch that. So that was back too far and hanging over where I needed to come in on port to dock. And the wind was pushing me away really quickly. And so Dana, queen that she is, jumped out to push the boat.
You jumped out into the water.
Yeah, it was like up to my waist.
Okay.
Right. So she jumped out to push on starboard to hold me to the dock so I could jump out and cleat. And in the meantime, we had tenants show up and they're like yelling to me on the dock because they knew my mother at the borough school and blah, 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 blah.
And I'm just standing there and all of a sudden I just said, I'm peeing in my Grundens.
And I said, what? And she said, no, like right now I'm actively peeing.
Well, that's because you were fighting like a 30-knot wind trying to hold a boat against
I
it.
had to go, but I kept it together.
But I was in the water, so I figured, why not?
So I'm picturing you in your bibs.
Yeah.
But you're not so deep that the bibs are filling up.
No.
And then you pee.
Yeah, I had to pee. I have
into her boots.
So then what do you do? Do you then just like dip down and like fill them up? Or what do you...
Well, I was already submerged.
Right.
They're open in the bottom, but I couldn't stop laughing.
And then had to
I got
climb out
I
laughing.
was like rolling around on the dock laughing. I could not stop laughing.
I'm sure
It's the funniest thing I ever.
I'm sure the guests who were coming to the studio...
They were like, can we get our money back?
Ooh, I think we're in the wrong place.
Yeah. This is not what we paid for. So, but yeah, that was like one of my favorite Dana moments. Because we think everything is funny that the other person does. Nobody else has to. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But we think we're hilarious, and that's all that matters. Like, if you don't like it, you can go find somebody else to hang around with.
So when you guys met and you became friends, what got you actually onto the farm and doing oyster work?
Yep. So all of our summers from the beginning of our friendship,
This is where Dana feels sorry for herself. So just strap in.
we go to the beach on the weekend, hang out, like spend the whole day swimming, talking, just having a nice, relaxing day every weekend that we could. And then she meets this guy and it's like stops going to the beach with me. And one day she left the beach to go with him after we had planned our day together at the beach. And I was like, what is happening? So
I'm a bitch.
it was made me really sad. So sucked it up a little bit for a while. And then she said, well, why don't you come one Saturday and help out on the farm and see what it's about? And it's really fun. And
I knew she'd love it.
so I did. I went and I spent the whole day. I couldn't walk the next day because it was so physically demanding. I was covered in mud. I didn't have any overalls or anything. So all my clothes was coated in mud. And it was like I felt so good afterwards. It was just like a really satisfying day.
Wow.
And so I would go every Saturday and help out. And
We go to the beach on Sunday.
yeah, so I just volunteered, right?
Mhm.
Show up and help out, and we'd have dinner afterwards. And then they had the thing with the partner who didn't want to be partners anymore.
There was a partner before Dana who had a very different vision for the farm. We tried really hard to work it out because that's what Kris does. And then they said to us one day, either you buy us out or we're buying you out. We had no idea how we were going to buy him out. We didn't have any financial back or any clue how we were going to make it work. But luckily, Dana was like, well, I'll just buy it. And she did.
It wasn't that simple.
Well, no, but it was like the idea was
I'll
there.
take it.
Yeah.
She told me what was happening, and I was like, that's bullshit. That's not cool. I thought, well, this is supposed to be like a family farm. And, it's supposed to be for Jake. It was supposed to be for him and his future. And I was having fun on Saturdays doing it. And I knew how important it was to Beth and to Kris, who I had started to like.
The other woman.
So I was fortunate enough to be able to have access to money that allowed me to do it.
Wow.
Because I'm just a single person. I don't have anything going on. I'm lazy. I don't have like a life of any sort. So I thought, well, this could be really great.
Yeah.
Because I know that Beth and I have the same philosophy about pretty much everything. And I know that Kris is a good person and I really like him now. And I just thought of the potential of what we could make it, all of us working together. And I thought it could be a really great thing and really worth putting the money into and the time into.
And it was, because our
That's
profits
amazing.
went up 200% when
Really?
she bought in. Like it just took off.
So did this mean that you now were working more than just Saturdays? How did it change your kind of day-to-day
I
life?
kind of still just do the Saturday only because I have the full-time job
Right.
on the weekdays. When it's time for like shipping, I'll come after work. I'll help box up and
She also does all our design
Yeah,
work, which is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, she's so talented. You know, the logo it's so timeless.
I wanted it to have sort of a vintage kind of feel to it. I'm not a designer
Yeah, you
by
are.
any stretch of the
Shut up.
imagination,
Yes, she is. She's a very
But-
talented artist.
but it just like it happened.
So was it a 50% share?
You went in at 51.
Yeah.
So we could be a woman-owned majority.
I didn't realize that you were a woman.
I'm the president.
She's the president.
You're the president.
I'm Madam President.
Madam
Yeah.
President.
I have no business being the president of anything except the Noel Fielding fan club,
Right.
of which I am.
I'm never going to be able to watch the Great British Bake Off again. So, okay. So as president, what are the roles between you?
Well, our roles are we all have something that we're really good at, and we sort of stick to that, but we just all work together as one unit. We're not,
It's very
we don't
fluid.
make decisions without each other. We have to agree on everything. And
Have you ever had a situation where you haven't agreed on something?
Yes.
yeah,
How have you dealt with that? What
we
was that?
just punch Kris in the face
Yeah.
and do it
we drug
anyway.
him and then do what we want. No, it's just
see.
like
I see what's happening here. So Kris has really very
Kris
little
has,
to do with this whole
nothing to do
operation.
with
she's
it.
eye candy. Yeah,
He
big
drives
hairy.
the boat.
It's not easy because I'm a big feeler. So when I feel something is right or wrong, like I really I obsess over it. And I feel like I have fairly good judgment.
She has really
and
good judgment.
so I get really mad.
She has really
when-
good
Well,
instincts.
thank you.
Yeah.
So I get really frustrated when we can't just do what I want and I have to wait. But for the most part, it's just a nice mix of everybody kind of throwing their ideas in the ring, and everybody gets to try something, even if it sounds crazy. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but you're never going to grow if you don't try new things.
Right.
But, you know, obviously Dana does the design work and I do all the sales and the marketing and the branding. And, you know, Jake is not so comfortable with the in-person, so he does a lot of, you know, the physical work, and Kris does a lot of the business end. So I think we all feel useful. And it's nice to be able to do what you feel is natural and work where your strengths lie.
Yeah.
I feel most useful when I'm just doing what Kris wants me to do. Just like run the tumbler,
Yep.
count, bag the oysters. And I can just spend all day just doing that.
Really?
And
And you learned how to do these things just from working with them?
yeah,
He's a great teacher.
he's so patient.
Even if you mess up, he's like, it's okay.
I don't mess up anything.
I
So,
wouldn't think so. No.
No comment.
So, on these rarefied moments of disagreement, have you, Dana, ever had to just put your foot down and say, I'm the president?
I would never
damn
do
it."
that. No, we're all equal part.
None of us can do it without the other. So we have no
fantastic.
choice but to work it out.
Now, do you have a title?
I think I'm sales and marketing. I'm head like blabbermouth.
You're also on the board.
Am I on the board?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on the board.
How big is your board?
Me, Kris,
It's
and
just-
Dana. Extensive.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was on it until about 45 seconds ago. So
Congratulations on
Thank
your.
you. I'm-
And so does Kris have a title, or he's just the
Vice
great
president.
ruiner?
Vice president.
He's vice president.
yeah,
I see.
yep. Head steamroller. Yep.
So do you have like business cards with the sort of
Yeah,
thing?
and brochures and stickers and T-shirts and custom knives and hats and it goes fast.
Yeah.
I'm
faster
sure.
than we can.
And it's costly,
which is
to
why
make,
we're out.
which is not something people might think about, but
It costs money to get your brand out.
they just have to taste the oyster.
Right. Like, just bring them in a little bit. That's it. That's all it takes. It's all about sharing.
So you say they just have to taste the oyster.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what you think about the oysters, and don't say, "Oh, they're the best." But,
I already said that.
Yeah.
And got in trouble.
You did.
Kris did as usual. Well, there's a lot of good products out there. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, but I defended you behind his back on that part.
You did. I
Yeah,
really
you were in the
appreciate
other
that,
room.
Kevin.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I never ate an oyster until I became official partner in this company.
So wait a minute. You're helping out on Saturdays.
Yep.
You never ate an oyster?
Never, not a
big snot.
single oyster
Why
ever.
is that?
I didn't eat oysters until she ate oysters.
What?
They look gross.
They're
They're
what?
beautiful.
The outside of an oyster is gorgeous.
Yeah. I could play with them all day long.
Yeah. Well, it can be, I think some people might find them unappealing in appearance.
Yeah.
Pudding.
Off-putting.
Yeah.
Disturbing.
Yeah. Revolting. Disgusting. Offensive.
But now,
But you guys certainly don't think that. Just
No.
no.
Well, that's the fun thing about oyster fans. It's like they're like lunatics.
yeah. And now I can look at it and say, oh, that's a really nice looking oyster. That's really beautiful.
Right.
That's a good one.
Right. When it's shucked well
Yeah.
and you get to see those gills and the mantle.
And the creamy.
Yep.
Yeah.
That like pearly skin and the flesh. And yeah, they're beautiful.
Have you learned the anatomy of an oyster? Have you ever looked at that? It's very interesting.
Yeah.
It makes her not want to eat them.
I
I did a
don't-
slideshow for an event, and I was like, "That's the anus, Dana," and she's like, "All right, I'm never eating another oyster." Yep. I went over the anatomy of oysters with some of the high school kids that came out for the field trip, and they were like, "I really don't want to eat one now that you told me that," because I shucked a big one so they could
Right.
really poke around in there and.
But there's poems written about.
Oh yeah, they're all
this
kinds of
stuff.
sexy,
Yeah, because they're shiny, they're beautiful, they're just pristine, and
like us,
Yeah.
shiny and beautiful and pristine.
Yeah, but you did say you like to get muddy.
Yeah.
We do.
Why do you guys like to get muddy? and
it's
dirty?
fun.
It's just fun.
It's fun, and I love to be clean, but I love to be dirty,
Is
and
it that-
we're filthy in the summer. Like we in the summer we get tan around our mud splatters.
Yeah. The mud is like a sunscreen.
Yeah.
And it's like thick black
Yep.
mud,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
does it
Oh, yeah.
stain your skin and any clothing that
It
touches?
does. No, you don't get stains.
Well, no.
So I
times.
swim after oystering, and then I go upstairs and take a shower,
All right.
and I scrub with a loofah. And when I get out and I use the towel, there's still mud on the towel.
I don't think she's telling the truth. I think she's being dramatic because I don't have that.
Is she a drama queen?
Maybe I just
sometimes?
work harder.
Yeah, that's it.
But you've got this blonde hair, though. I mean, you get that mud in that hair, you can see that from a mile
Yeah.
away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Street cred.
Yeah.
It is street cred, isn't it?
Yep.
A little bit. Yeah.
You want to be muddy. You
Yeah.
want any passersby to say,
I like it when
that's
it
an oyster
gets
farmer.
in the grooves of your fingernails, like around your cuticle, and
Yeah.
it doesn't come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like I won't use shiny new tools at work.
Looks
on
like
building
you're an
jobs.
amateur or
Yeah.
something.
Like
You
why don't
went to
just
Home
give me
Depot
a pink hammer? Like I want to use the nastiest, gnarliest,
Right.
fucked up
maybe,
hammer.
Maybe with some blood stains on there.
Oh yeah, there's blood on everything. Yeah, because I'm always injuring myself. Yeah, there's blood everywhere. Don't bring your luminol because it's gonna tell a story. But yeah, like we're not the whole like cute girl doesn't appeal to
Okay.
us. Like oh, I'm wearing my Carhartt.
But we're not
Yeah.
going into the not like other girls territory here. We're not, because I don't know.
I've met some remarkable
Mm-hmm.
women who are growing oysters,
It's killer.
Yeah.
and
They're
all-
fine.
So I think it's a New England company that makes sweaters
Yeah.
out of oysters.
And if I bought clothes, I would probably be into it. But I don't buy clothes
Because you're just going to get that
because
mud all in
I
the room.
get ruined anyway.
Other than the waders or overalls, the Grundens, is there particular clothing that you prefer to wear when you're working on the farm?
I like just my bathing suit under my bibs in the summer, but winter is tough because I haven't found anything that keeps me warm and offers the dexterity that I need
And dry.
and dry.
Everything.
And dry.
That's
And
we're in an open
waterproof
skiff.
Is is waterproof for like 10 minutes. And then you get a tiny cut in it from
Right.
a shell,
Yep.
and then it's...
And that's the end of it.
Yeah. So we've tried ice fishing gloves. We've tried gloves for people that work in like industrial freezers. I can't undo any knots. I can't tie any lines.
Right.
I can't pick up one oyster at a time. And the only way to be able to do that is to be cold. So between dredges, I go under the table and I just wrap my hands around the muffler to stay warm.
Wow.
My bibs are all melted because I stand so close to the muffler in the winter that they drip.
Dana, do you go out on the boat and run the dredge and that sort of thing?
I get boat time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like more boat time
Yeah,
than I get. but
What's your favorite aspect of oyster farming? What activity do you most enjoy?
I think I like when we drag. And then we go through what comes up in the dredge and picking out the live oysters from the mud and the rocks and the scallops and the whatevers that are in there,
Really
sorting them. You just sort of go into a zone, right? And you're out in the sun, or maybe
Right.
not the
It's
sun.
beautiful
but
boat traffic. And so you live
Right.
sort, and then, we sort everything like crazy people. So it's like seed, almost a Mason, almost a Stonington, almost a Murphy. We have prom queens that we send down to Fairhaven, which are the size of Murphys, but pretty. And then jumbos after that. But then there's, it's shape, it's size, it's weight, it's how attractive is the shell. I mean, it's just over the top.
Yeah.
We have to be conscious of dialing it back once in a while because it's hard to maintain
It
the
can get
standards.
fussy.
Yeah. I mean, I can just stare at an oyster for 20 minutes and think of why it's not perfect.
So you guys are perfectionists.
Yeah, I actually learned on a podcast about perfectionism recently and learned how much of a psychopath I am from it. So
Another thing that I would never have expected that I really like about it is when we do like public things, like a raw bar, or we'll do a teaching opportunity and shucking classes, and you meet people.
Yeah.
And I'm not a people person. I
No
really
kidding.
like meeting all these new people.
Yeah.
So why do you think you enjoy that so much if you're not
I don't
naturally
know.
an extrovert?
Maybe I just never knew that I liked it until I started doing this.
and you have something they want and something they
Yeah.
like.
Right.
It brought me out of my shell.
Pun
But
intended.
Figuratively and literally. So are you a good shucker?
Yeah, I think I am.
Yeah. Have you ever
Yeah.
tested yourself how fast you
Oh,
can-
no.
No.
I thought you were going to say, have you ever stabbed yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, have you ever
I
said?
have. We were doing
Sail Fest.
in London, a big outdoor fest, and I was shucking, and then all of a sudden
I was bleeding.
I was bleeding.
I did a bad one.
Tell me.
We send oysters down to Fairhaven Oyster Company in New Haven, which is a fantastic restaurant. And we were supposed to shuck for her and then stay for dinner, but she was really busy. So we had dinner and then shucked. This Australian woman next to us said something like, "Don't cut yourself." And I said, "Well, all right, you just ruined it. I'm going to cut myself now."
right.
And sure as shit, the first oyster, I went into my knuckle,
Oh.
like in the knuckle. So I just spent the rest of the night with my hand in a dinner napkin over my head. But
So did Chef ever get any oysters?
she loves them.
So I imagine that finding new restaurants and that sort of thing,
my
you're meeting
favorite.
a lot of interesting people.
That's the best.
Yeah.
That's absolutely
one
my
of your favorite
part.
parts of it?
Yep.
How do you do it? Do you just knock on a door with
Yeah.
say, "Hey, have an oyster," or
Just introduce myself and ask if they would be interested. Or sometimes we will just take a bag to a restaurant and say, "Hey, you want to try these?" And we'll leave a card and a brochure. And we haven't been able to do a lot of that because we're sold out. I mean, every oyster on the bottom is sold.
wow.
So if one place doesn't take it, another will.
So that sounds like a great thing, but it also sounds a little risky. What if you
It is
have
risky.
a die-off of a certain percentage of
We're
your oysters?
fucked.
And how do you deal with that in terms of your customers? And you do when there's a mortality loss like that. How do you deal
Everybody's
with
got to
your
take a
customers?
little bit of a hit.
Really, you kind of spread the
Everybody,
loss.
yeah. But it's a balance to get new customers and keep the old ones satisfied, because I don't want to promise something we can't give, and the quality certainly can't change. So
What areas are your main markets?
Mystic, and then Boston is our wholesaler. So that's probably 85-90% of our product goes up to Mass. And then from there, it goes all through New England. We had the opportunity to go into a restaurant chain in New York, and I had set up a time to bring our oysters down, and the next day our Boston wholesaler called and said triple everything. So I had to call and say, I can't right now.
Yeah, we just need more oysters.
Right.
More oysters, more time to produce in another boat.
Yeah.
I mean, no big deal, right?
Just I'm interested in understanding how what you do is different than what Kris and Beth are doing, because you kind of came to the party late, after they were involved in it, but you are an equal owner and partner of the whole thing.
Yeah.
You're also working full time.
Yeah.
So do you ever feel
Left
like,
out?
yeah.
Yeah, all the time. I miss out on a lot of things that I would like to be able to.
What would you be more involved in?
Well, I miss meeting you the first time you came. I miss when Noah comes and I miss Julie Chu.
Right.
Well, everything is like on a
Everything
Tuesday
happens
at
on a
10:30.
weekday.
Yeah.
And
I can understand, though, that you would feel left out when a lot of the activities that you're interested in are going on.
I miss
when
the
you're
field
working.
trips. I haven't done any of that.
I always feel guilty. I feel like it's my job to be out there and like meeting everybody and making contacts and everything. But then I feel like they forget about everybody else. I don't feel like I'm so great that people meet me and then they forget everybody else in the world exists. That's not how I mean that to come out. But I feel like I become the point person for everybody.
Right.
And then it's sort of, when there's something written up about us, it's very quickly turned into Beth Simonds, Stonington Farms Shellfish, even though everybody else was there. So I do get uncomfortable with that. I mean, I'm a total attention whore, but I don't need all the attention all the time. I want everybody to be in on it if that's what they want. And I do feel bad that I kind of steal that.
You guys have this incredible deep bond. And now you've been able to intensify that even more by being business partners in this operation. But at the same time, it creates guilt or tension.
Oh, yeah.
Of some
There's
sort.
a whole new dynamic. I
Right.
mean, when the farm is suffering, I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck did I bring my best friend into? Like, what did I do to her? Like right now, the boat's out of the water and we just found another leak this morning. So it's like, what did I get this girl into? And I hope that it works out for us. But then I feel responsible if it doesn't work out for Dana. Like, I don't want this to ever be a negative for Dana. So I feel responsible for bringing her in on this. Like I never want her to feel like she made a bad investment.
Do you ever feel that way?
No.
Do you ever feel like, oh my God, what did she get me into?
I do.
She does say that.
I do say, what, oh my God, what have I done? But I never feel like I made a bad investment.
There's just so much there.
There's so much
we need
potential. We
need so little to get over that hump.
Dana, what would you do to get over that hump and expand it?
Well, I think we need what everybody needs, which is money and time.
If we could afford to pay ourselves on the farm, we could back off on our other business. But right now, some of the times the other business pays for the farm. But who doesn't want more money and time? We're not unique in that way. I mean, everybody wants it, but...
Have you ever thought about adding additional business partners and getting some influx of money in that way?
Are we still a family farm? So if it was something where we could have investors that were silent, it would be different. I wouldn't want somebody to come in and say, stop handling the oysters so much or do that faster because it's going to change the quality of the product. Yeah. We could make more money, but our oysters would suffer. And that's not what we're here for. Yeah. So if you want a shittier product, then I'll have more money. But that's not I need to be proud of every single oyster that gets sold, or it's not worth doing.
So, Dana, if you had to isolate a moment in time in your oyster work that you're especially proud of or that is especially meaningful to you? What would that be?
When we were invited to the Billion Oyster Project, that was like such a huge thing.
Yeah.
And actually going and setting up and seeing all the other farms from all over the country and meeting the other farmers and then all the people that show up to eat the oysters and meeting them and seeing how they react to our product. And it's that everybody is so positive about it and it's so good and these are really great, and it makes you feel like you're doing it right, like you've done something right. And I feel like everybody who tries our oysters has that reaction, which is it's gratifying. We shucked the whole night. It was so fun, and meeting all the other farmers and seeing what their oysters were like, and talking to them about how they do things. And
I think it was the first time we had ever set up like a raw bar table. We had never even set up a table before.
Yeah.
Really?
And that's where we started.
That's a hell of a start.
Yeah, so it was really cool. It was really fun.
What about, I don't know if I would call them moments of regret or failure. Is there something that stands out in your mind like,
when we know that we had that freeze, that sticks in my mind as a big mistake that happened.
We didn't anticipate how low the tide was going to drop. And then we had those oysters just out of the water freezing.
I can't imagine what it must have been like to stand there and to look out on the water, see the oysters sticking out.
There
and
they are.
knowing
They're all dead now.
Yeah, when it's something that like you can do about it, it's different from if it's Mother Nature.
Right.
Do you ever feel kind of guilty like killing my babies?
Yes.
Yes. Yep. I have a hard time with it. Like I do apologize a little bit.
Yeah.
You're running this oyster farm with amazing oysters. You're working together. I think you guys are onto something here.
Oh yeah. We just need some dough before we go under. Literally and figuratively. Have you seen the boat in the driveway?
I did see the boat.
You see all the holes in that boat?
I did see the holes. Yeah. I looked in my truck to see if I had some chewing gum.
Yeah, it might work.
All I know is when we opened her up in 2020, she was like Swiss cheese.
I do remember when we went out on the boat that you made me put on boots. And you did say that, be warned, it is a very wet boat.
Oh yeah, water in, water out through the scuppers. But right now it's water in, water in. The water comes in, it goes out the scuppers.
And then you put a whole bunch of bags of oysters in the boat.
And then
And
us.
we'll- and
then you have that derrick and you have a big stainless steel table in there.
And then you pull up to the dock in the summer with these jackasses going way too fast.
Right, gawking at you, watching you
In the
slam
no-wake
into
zone.
the
And then
dock.
as you slam into the dock and
I love it when they wave
swamp.
at us while they do that. Like, oh, look at it's fishermen.
cute.
Like,
Girls on the water.
yep, girls gone wild.
woo!
Well, I can't thank you both enough for this time and for really just giving me a little tiny peek at this amazing relationship, which is clearly a lifelong thing. And it's not just friendship, it's business, it's life, it's family, it's everything.
It's definitely family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
she's
shows.
my sister. Don't we look alike?
Well,
No.
2 arms, 2 legs.
That's about it. That's where it ends.
Well, thank you so much. I really
you.
appreciate it. And I can't promise that I won't edit some of the naughty stuff out.
Yeah, you really have to
You
not
do what you have to
edit
do.
most of what she
No, I don't
said.
think I will. All right. Thanks again. Well, that's it for this episode of Oyster-ology. Thanks to my guests, Dana Hines and Beth Simonds, who I think revealed as much about friendship as they did about oyster farming. As always, show notes can be found on this episode's page, and if you enjoyed this, please rate or review it on whatever podcast platform you listen to. I'm your host, Kevin Cox. Join us next time when we pry open the shell of another interesting oyster-ology topic.
Unique New York.
Unique. Now I can't say it. Unique New York.
What's unique, you know?
It's
Our voice warm up.
it's what like
Ah.
actors do to get their instrument.
We're tuning our instruments.
Tune